back here, John Boy.
We're back, FC Bullard.
Crack on, yeah. What are we doing today?
Well, we think
Yes.
it's high time. We've had a bit of a board meeting. We think it's high time we start taking this club a little more seriously, and we need to start employing people. There's a lot of roles. There's a lot of roles, Jim.
Yeah.
You are obviously the president, El Presidente. I am the director of football.
Yes.
And, you know, we're juggling lots of jobs here. We're juggling lots of jobs. Now, I think a huge part of football these days is the mental aspect of it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we should get our own sports psychologist on board.
Okay.
You know, for myself
Well,
and for yourself and for the players.
That doesn't come under sport, though. That just comes under psychologist for us.
Okay. Yeah. Well, absolutely. We need one.
We need one for a long time.
We need one sharpish. And I've got somebody who would like to interview for the role.
Right, buzz in there.
Yeah.
Who we
Now,
got? Come on.
he is a sports
What's
psychologist.
he done in the game? Yep.
He's worked with leading clubs and players across Premier League and Europe, including West Ham,
The Hammers,
Crystal Palace, Derby County, Bournemouth, and recently was working with Arne Slot at Feyenoord, where he won the Eredivisie and the Dutch Cup.
So he's obviously got a bit.
He has got a bit.
Yeah.
So,
I like this.
a very warm welcome to Dan Abrahams.
Yes, Dan.
Gents,
How are you?
Mate?
I'm awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah,
Are you?
Good. You should be, because there is a job up for grabs for you.
I mean, I'm transitioning out of Feyenoord. I'm coming to one of the finest up-and-coming clubs.
Well, you've not got the job yet.
This is true. Although I don't know if I want the job if I've got to work.
Oh,
with
well,
both of
we'll
you
see.
In terms of, I mean, I'm good, but I'm not that good. Trying to help you guys, I'm not.
Yeah, you make a valid point, but this is the whole point of this exercise is for us to feel you out and you to feel us out.
Yep.
I'm just going to rattle through your CV, some bullet points from your CV here. 28 years in high-performance sport, former professional golfer, former PGA coach.
Hang on. Was you really? You reel them off. I can't
Fully
believe it.
qualified sports psychologist for 18 years, lead psychologist for England Golf, 2013-2016, lead psychologist for England Rugby, working with Eddie fucking Jones, mate.
That's awesome.
Helped esports team with win an £18 million tournament. Give him the job now. 18 million. I've just seen numbers. Current psychologist at Aston Martin F1. 4 best-selling books, one of which Gareth Bale said changed his life. He's worked with 6 Premier League clubs, and as I just mentioned, Eredivisie champion and Dutch Cup winner with Feyenoord. I mean, what the hell makes you think you're qualified for a job at FC Bullard with a CV like that?
I have no idea. But this would be the biggest role that I was ever going to take on. So I always I want my clients to stretch themselves. I want them to challenge themselves. So I've got to practice what I preach. So I'm here to stretch and challenge myself.
It is it's an incredible CV, and you know you're a young man still.
Ooh.
You've packed up. Well, you're looking good on
it's
it.
The moisturiser, it's the daily treatment.
It's the beard.
The beard. I think ages me a little bit. I think they're great.
I'm gonna
look wiser than I am.
I'm gonna kick off with like a bog standard style question, and then we'll go from there. Dan, when you first come to a club, what is the first thing you look for? Who do you? What's your first thing that you do when you go in there? If that makes sense.
And just to put a bit on that question, is it Dan Chew? Would surely, because I think that question has to get broken down. Surely you just don't go into a club. You've gone in there for a reason anyway, yeah?
100%.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Well, that reason doesn't necessarily have to be something whereby the club is saying, we've got a big problem. I mean, that can happen.
Yep.
And that these days can be as frustrating as not. I mean, usually what you want now is a club to go, we are so ambitious. We want to be the best that we can be. We know sports psychology is going to be a massive part of that. And we want you to come in and deliver. How do you feel you can help us? So I'm kind of guessing that's what you're asking. But you're right, Jimmy, to say that, you know, there are going to be people there, like the head coach manager or the head of sports science and medicine who are going to say, we want you to do this specific thing. So you've always got to be mindful of that. So those are the first conversations I'm having. Like, I'm not going to see the players straight away.
Yep.
And I'll give you a working example. When I started at Feyenoord, I started with a big presentation to the head coach, Arne, his coaching staff, the rest of the coaching staff, so they got a feel for the stuff that I would deliver. And then they introduced me to a couple of their senior players, and they had a couple of sessions and conversations with me, and it kind of built from there. Whereas other times I've gone into a club and the head coach has just said, Dan, we want to put you in front of the players straight away. So the rather annoying answer is, it depends. It depends what you guys want. I don't know who your players are specifically, what your head coach wants. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for me to do.
When we get a head coach and some players, we'll let you know.
We haven't got any yet.
Right, okay.
I think we're doing this a little bit arse backwards, aren't we?
We're beginning at the beginning. I could help. In fact, with that in mind, then I can help you with the recruitment, because you want a head coach who's going to have social intelligence, emotional intelligence, be able to handle the players, be able to create teamwork, leadership, mental skills, all the kind of things that I deal with every single day. So I can be a big part. In fact, I should be on the board.
You should be.
But does that not turn you into a scout come coach then?
No, because I'm not an expert on the specifics of football. Like, I'm not an expert on the tactical side. I'm not an expert on the specific actions. But you are right to say that, Jimmy, in as much as people underestimate how much sports psychology can actually influence. We can take a real broad, posh term, systemic approach. So looking across the whole organisation, looking across the whole staff and team, and actually help from that real helicopter viewpoint. So we can be much more influential than people realise.
So Dan, which role do you prefer? Do you prefer having that kind of overarching relationship with the club, or do you prefer the one-on-one stuff?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm kind of greedy. I like both. So getting the opportunity to both is awesome. But having played professional sport and played in inverted commas, because I wasn't the best professional golfer, but having actually competed, I do love working with competitors. I love being there in the change room. I love one-to-one. I love, I love everything about getting my hands dirty, essentially, with the players in terms of helping their performance every single day, every single activity in every single session, and helping them get ready for games. So doing that stuff is awesome.
Yeah. Did you know you said golf? Let's touch on that a little bit. Professional golfers. So was that a PGA pro or a touring pro? What was that?
I started with ambitions to be a touring pro. Kind of one of those people who announces to their parents, I'm going to be the best golfer in the world, when I was 18 years old. Failed miserably to get anywhere near Tiger Woods, who was sort of world number one when I was, trying to get up there. And I toured around, played the mini tours, the satellite tours.
Did you?
So I was all
so
right.
decent then?
I was okay, Jim. I was okay.
What's your best score on a tour?
I shot a 64.
Mustard. Wow.
Past 65.
That's
Joking.
awesome. No, that's that's
60,
serious plan. Right, okay.
No, but I was okay, but I really wasn't. Was
that always your dream, was it?
Yeah, that's what I wanted,
yeah.
and I worked so hard. But the interesting thing for me is that I got worse having worked really hard. Like, I was too focused, too intense. Hit golf balls till my hands bled.
One of them sports that you can.
It is one.
It ain't always dig it out of the dirt and you become better, is it? No, it's a weird game.
No, I wasn't smart with what I was doing.
Okay. Yeah.
But then I transitioned into a PGA coach, so I coached the game, and sort of that built my love from playing sport, coaching sport.
Yeah.
Golf, being golf, as you know, is deemed to be quite psychological.
Yeah.
And so I was always into that side of things, and I always had a passion to work across sports, especially football. So I was like, you know what? I did all my qualifications to become a sports psychologist, and then I went out into the world about 18, 19 years ago as a fully qualified sports psychologist.
Well, just one other question I want to ask. Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
You being a psychologist, and coming from a golf background, sounds like, did you find there was, for your psychology to help others, did you find there was a sport that it really mattered more? Might be a crack question, but
No,
I asked that because of golf. I think it's very psychological.
But everybody says this, and you're not wrong to say the pace of it. You've got lots of time to think. You've got a stationary ball, and it's kind of paradoxical, right? The fact it's stationary actually kind of makes it tougher. You're trying to hit the small ball, not the big ball that it's balanced on, right?
Got you.
And so there are so many facets that are psychological. At the same time, I would always argue I was on my own. It's an individual sport, and so whilst the onus is on me, at the same time, I don't have to worry about anybody else, and I remember listening to you speak once about the challenge of actually trying to be a great teammate, be a leader, the social side of football and other sports like rugby, etc. And the other side of that is I just paid my entrance fee for the tournaments I wanted to play in, what I qualified for. Now, as you know, as a footballer, the reality is a couple of bad games, you're on the bench. You're not allowed to go and play. You might have a few months playing poorly. That might be career ending. So I think there's this interesting juxtaposition between, yes, individual sports are deemed to be very psychological for various reasons, but team sports, there's the interpersonal skills, the communication, getting on with teammates, leadership, teamwork, and all kinds of factors that are out of your control that can be so stressful because you've got to be chosen for the team. So every sport has its own unique psychological dynamic.
How receptive are football clubs? How long have you been? You've been doing this about 18 years, is that right?
About 18 years in football.
So how much of a change have you seen over 18 years in terms of football clubs and people within football being receptive to what you do? Because obviously mental health's a huge part of society now, as well as football, and I'm assuming that people, because of what you do, they look at you and think you can probably help with that side of it as well, if that makes sense.
100%, and let me getting the opportunity to come into FC Bullard. How I would work this, to speak to your question as well, is on 3 levels. Sports psychology basically works on 3 levels: performance psychology, player well-being, and player mental health. So the performance psychology piece speaks for itself. A sense of control on the pitch, concentration, commitment, confidence, those kind of words when you think of performance, even learning day to day. The well-being piece is helping players manage the day-to-day challenges, the thoughts, the emotions, the feelings. I'm in the team, I'm out of the team. I've had an argument with my other half. Something's going on in my life that's not so good. Those kind of day-to-day emotions around the well-being piece. And then the mental health piece, which is the deeper piece. Even somebody like myself and my qualifications, I might have to pass on to a clinical psychologist, which we could talk about bringing somebody in like that. Now, in terms of how accepted it's been, I would say that mental health and well-being now is fully accepted across the board. I would suggest you're going to struggle to find a club that at first team level doesn't have somebody involved from a mental health and a well-being perspective. It's available, so it's vital to have it at FC Bullard, right? At the performance psychology level, mental skills, teamwork, leadership, I think everyone's a little bit slower to get into that side of it. I think that could be a competitive advantage for us. At Feyenoord, we worked on leadership and teamwork and players having mental skills in place to help them be mentally skillful on game day. So I think there's a competitive advantage there. But at the moment, when you look at the big clubs, they are now passionate about it. And it's because of the internet. It's because everybody has the information now at their fingertips. It's not some obscure thing in a library somewhere. I think we in sports psychology have become better at demystifying this area. So we deliver things in a much more accessible way now. I think that's vital to say. And I just think now what's interesting as well is in America, the NFL, basketball, NBA, they now mandate 12 hours a week of mental health. So every franchise in America has to have player well-being and mental health support.
Right? They don't do it in the UK yet?
Not in the UK, because it's that different system of clubs are private corporations, whereas in America they're mandated from the NFL or the NBA. So it's a franchise system. So what's happening now, because players over the last decade have experienced that, you go on X or any social media and you'll see a player talking about his mental health protocol and the way he goes about things. So it's much more accessible and therefore much more accepted in this world.
But also it's better for everyone. It's better for productivity and better for results, because if people are happy, generally they're going to perform better. Just wanted to pick up there, you said to be mental
skills to be mentally skillful.
Mentally skillful on game day.
Yes.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I think it'd be interesting to get Jimmy to come in here. I think
good, by the way.
People underestimate the mental challenge on game day. And in part, I mean, coming back to the golf point, whilst there's plenty of time to think in golf, if one says, well, football, it works so quickly, it works in seconds, it's a misunderstanding of how the brain works. The brain works in milliseconds. And the way our brain is designed is to judge what's going on around us at all times. You know, we're judging the opposition, we're judging our teammates, we're judging the state of the game, we're judging the pitch, we're judging the referee, we're judging what the coach thinks is... That's how we function as human beings. Our brain is working in milliseconds, and so it's sending thoughts, emotions, feelings into our conscious awareness at all times. And that can be tough to manage throughout the game. Plus, of course, what you have to be a great teammate. You have to be able to have, communicate with your teammates, positive gestures. You've got to be game intelligent. You've got to be aware, anticipate, make quick decisions on the run, stick to the responsibilities in your role. Attention is vital. Focus of attention, game intensity, keeping that game intensity, that mental intensity, that mental stimulation is critical. Players tend to mentally rest between tasks, and then an intent, a front for energy forward, purposeful, positive, proactive actions. All these kinds of mental aspects are absolutely imperative, and they're going on every single second out there on the pitch. So it's people like me that have to come along and help players have very simple, practical techniques that they can use in the moment when they become distracted and disconnected from the game, when they rise too high or drop too low in intensity, when they start to play a bit fearful, a bit hesitant, a bit inhibited. And all those things mediate, they influence the game as it goes on.
There's a lot of data. It can also become an overload.
Yeah.
In your head, all that what you said.
I mean, I'm exhausted.
No, it can become an overload in your head, and then your head sort of over complicates it all, and then all of a sudden it's just too much. It's an overload. I had that before, an overload of information. Do you get what I mean? I was very simple on the pitch, and I just had to strip back. Do you get what I mean? And then go back to, which often become just the normal stuff, do you know what I mean? The very obvious stuff and basics. Go back to basics, because all of that I can relate to so much. Because when you were saying all of that, I was like, yeah, that's what I used to do. That's what I used to do. And it was like, but it's amazing what you brought in milliseconds when you said that. Yeah, it's amazing, especially like scenarios. It is just amazing listening to him there, like, and it brings back for me on the pitch. But I think you get sharper and sharper the more. The higher athlete you're around and the higher you go, your thoughts and become. I suppose that's what the best athletes do. It ain't just about physicality, is it? It's about the mental side and like.
It's the quality of your training as well. I mean, I remember you talking about at Wigan Athletic when you were there, and the quality of your training. I think it was under Paul Jewell, and just even on a Friday, it was like, I want you to be at it today. Game intensity, possibly not all the time, but often is absolutely critical. What you're doing there is mentality. You're working on focus of attention. You're working on mental stimulation, game intensity. But the art of sports psychology is, if you think of all the detail you've given me, we need to now break this down into something super simple for the player. Because as you said, Jimmy, if we work on a 80-20 or 90-10 rule, by and large, you want to go out there and 90% of the time just work on intuition, just work on all of your experience, and you just play with nothing in your head, but just maybe 10 or 20, just having something there. And I love what you've said historically about when you went out and played, you put on a cloak, you were a bulldog, and those little cues and keys, just have fun, put on my cloak, be a bulldog. Those little cues and keys and even metaphors are what help you to clear your mind and just do.
Yeah, it definitely helped. I'd sort of become this. I said to you a few times, didn't I, when I went on it? It's sort of like a character I went into.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a playful character. I never played on the edge like Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney was like an aggressor. I turned into like a joker, if you want. I found I played my best stuff through that, and I found I played my best stuff through a lot of wrongdoing. Do you get what I mean? I had to go through it and found it all myself, because I had sports psychologists help me back in the day, which I've got a load of other questions for you, but I learned that myself. I learned that was strong for myself. I had to learn and think quickly. Hang on, I'm not good when I'm an aggressor. I'm not good when I'm arguing and I want to run through someone. I'm better when I strip back, work on, have nothing in my head really. Be a free spirit. Be free. Be free. Don't think too much. Anticipate well. Have all this, but it was. I had to unclog my mind. Honestly, I had so much, because I thought that's how the best work. But sometimes for me, I suppose every player's different, what I'm getting at as well. It's a bit of a minefield for me, but I suppose every player's different.
Every player's different, but I think this opens up an option. Having the opportunity to come and work at FC Bullard, I'd like to introduce your players, when you recruit some players, some very simple mental techniques that they can use to become mentally skillful. And I'm going to build on what you said there, Jimmy. So I have a technique that I call a game face. A game face. So you talked about having a character there. There's three interesting things, or at least two interesting things. There's lots of interesting things you said, but two things to pinpoint would be, you talked about being a joker. You talk about being a free spirit. Now, this science, okay, I don't want to get too dull here, but this was done 50 years ago in the 70s. What we know now is that the way our brain works, it works very metaphorically. 70% of our language, you say you're a joker on the pitch. I'm a joker, I'm a free spirit. That's a metaphor for who you want to be. I'm going to be like that. Now, so that's your game face. If we had been working together, and we would have used that word free as well, because it's a great word to evoke the kind of images that change how you feel. I'm free. I'm a free spirit. I'm a joker. I think you've used bulldog in the past as well.
Yeah, the bulldog was more of a name. It was, it's more like free spirit. It was more like. I sort of, to break it down, I sort of realised when I don't worry so much. But it was hard for me to get, because obviously I always had worry. I always wanted to win. But what I tried to clear myself, if I have a shot from 40 yards, it doesn't matter what happens to that. Football ain't my everything. That's what I tried to really take on. And then once I really believed, the more I believed in that, the more better I would play. If I clammed up and thought, this very pass is everything, that's when I would fall to pieces. This penalty, if I miss, is everything, that's when I fall to pieces.
It's almost like giving yourself like a free pass, to like the validation to be able to, I'm allowed to go and do this. I suppose managers as well can help with that. The managers that probably allowed you to go and be the bulldog and go and
managers
express
massively
yourself,
help with that.
It probably
they're buying
got
into
better
my
performances out of you.
It's so weird, because I'm talking it like I'm a 10-year-old, but that's what I done. I'm not going to back away with what I done. And I did go on them pitches almost. Definitely in my career, because I was 26, 27, and I'm achieving. So I know it's working.
Yeah.
There's no sports, not being rude, no sports psychologist, no manager, no chairman. No one could sit here and tell me otherwise.
No.
I'll have a look at it there. Yeah. That's what you're planning for. And I believed my freedom, I just produced. I was just like, I'm going to be a free spirit. And the older I got, it just become, that's the way for me. That's the way, and that's the way I'm ever going to be. And that's why I think I rebounded against some of my managers later on in my career, because I was scared. I was honestly scared to listen to what they had to say fully, because I'm frightened of coming away from all my success. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And all my beliefs.
Yeah.
I don't need you. Don't complicate the shit. I don't want to go back there.
Yeah.
Because I've ballsed up before. Because my career went like that. Because of my beliefs and everything I believe. Not manager. Sometimes, right? Sorry, I'm going off on one, because this is where you get me excited. Sometimes I would go in the change room and I'd block my ears to my manager's calling, because I wanted so much unconfusion. Don't tell me what to do. In my head, this would be me. Paul, don't tell me what to do. You're never going to tell me where the ball's going to bounce. I don't know, but what I'm going to do is go off that in the moment. In the moment. I lived in the moment. And I mean, it's hard to do because you've got so much outside noise. But I've programmed myself to do it, and I've done it so well.
And the way I would work with you as a sports psychologist, I would take on board everything that you... My job is to listen to you, and what I hear you saying is you want to be a free spirit out there, and my contribution to your game is to take you away from outcome and performance. The biggest sources of unhelpful thoughts, emotions, and feelings is the outcome, gotta win, and performance, gotta perform. Yeah. Those are the things that create what I call the biggest killers in football. The biggest killers in football are ants. The A stands for automatic, the N stands for negative, the T stands for thoughts.
Like it.
Automatic negative thoughts. Jimmy, I want you to squash your ants. How are we going to do that? We're going to take you away from outcome and performance. In fact, sometimes you've got to go to the extreme of, I don't care about the outcome. I do care, but we're going to take that away. I don't care about my performance. I'm going to let my performance take care of itself. And that's going to be so important with our players at FC Bullard, right? But where we've got to direct their focus is, for example, onto their game face. So, Jimmy, what I want to see from you is free spirit. Show me free spirit non-stop. In your role, every action, every second of the game, free spirit. Nothing and no one takes you away from free spirit. Where I want your expectations, what I want you to demand from yourself is for you to stay in character the whole game. You stay in character the whole game. We know we're going to have the best Jimmy Bullard that we can possibly have. And the beauty of that is it gives you your best chance for, let's say, an 8 or a 9 out of 10 game. Most importantly, it helps you have your best possible game. Yeah. You can turn a 5 into a 6 and a 6 into a 7 just by staying in character. You stick to your game face. We want our players at FC Bullard to stick to their game faces no matter what. You know, and we did that at Feyenoord. We had, so I'll give you some examples of, and I can't mention actual names of players because that would be unfair. One of our players had a game face of positive, upbeat Benzema. Why? Because we picked 2 action-based words. He wants to stay positive and upbeat no matter what. Action-based words like free are really powerful. Alert, alive, lively, relentless, dominant, aggressive, assertive. Because I can act those words. I can be a character. Yeah. They make up my game face. So he had, what did I say? Positive, upbeat, Benzema. And what we know, just like you've got free spirit, which sounds quite conceptual, working with players, you can help them pick model players, because that's how we work as human beings. Great players like to pick other players that they want to model. And this player said, I love Benzema. I love his runs, his movements around the penalty area. I love his little right? So what was this person's game face is positive, upbeat Benzema. So we placed demands and expectations around that. Another player had relentless, alert, tiger. Again, you can use concepts like animals. And I know that sounds kind of strange. I
thought he was going to Tiger Woods there, but Tiger...
Well, actually, you could be Tiger Woods, but it's more like I've got a player I work with at the moment who you would know him, and he's a very good striker in the Premier League, and his game face is dominant, confident lion. Because even though he had a bit of a chuckle when I said to him, can you think of an animal that you might resemble out there?
That's Ireland.
It's
I'd
be charging a bit more for his but dominant, confident lion. But then he thought about it, because you know yourself, Jimmy, you're kind of picturing it, and he was like, I'm a lion. That's my penalty area. I'm the king of that penalty area. Yeah. I'm in charge. I'm in control. Football is about control. Now, managers and coaches talk about controlling the game. Yeah. As a sports psychologist, I would put to them that it's about taking control of yourself as an individual and a teammate, which then helps you execute your role, which then helps you control the game. We're stripping it back to the individual. And that's why at Feyenoord, and this is what Arne Slot really liked, he wanted his players to have a game face because he knew they had something out there that they could all reinforce together. What do we do here? We're in our high performance mindset, our HPM, which is another term we used and we can bring into FC Bullard. Nothing and no one takes us away from our HPM. We're all in our game faces. That really helps you to take charge and take control.
And what's that, HPM, yeah?
High performance mindset.
Right, yeah.
you're creating a team identity. At FC Bullard, we want to be on our HPM. We go and play top of the league. If we're not top of the league, we want to be in our HPM, our high performance mindset.
I wanted to ask you about Arne Slot, because obviously, as a Liverpool fan, I'm very excited, and he looks like he's going to be a good fit. Can you tell us a little bit about the man?
Of course, without respecting his privacy and respecting what I can talk about in terms of my job at Feyenoord, which I had for 2 seasons there. Intelligent, football obsessive, tactical obsessive, very, very smart from that perspective. And I think most importantly, open-minded. But at the same time, we talk a lot these days about marginal gains in sport and stuff like that, and all of that is great and all of it is true. But you can't just bring anything and everything in, otherwise there does become too much noise. And so he's a critical thinker. And I had a good relationship with him in as much as he gave me permission to be straightforward with him and provide appropriate feedback and ideas, and he didn't just take on board anything. He pushed back, he checked and challenged what I had to say, and stretched me, just like, say, Eddie Jones did at England Rugby. So I was queuing up your
go on. Eddie fucking Jones, mate.
Loves.
You got to throw the expletive in, mate.
He's teed you up there, don't even have to go, go on.
Yeah. He's a little bit like Ange. He's a little bit more, isn't he?
He's a bit more Taz, as you said.
Yeah.
He's Tasmanian.
Yeah, he's Tasmanian.
Well, sorry, go on. Then I'll ask you about it.
So I think the best coaches are the ones who are open-minded, but just won't take anything on board. So it was a privilege and an honour to get the opportunity to work with him, and I'm excited to see how it goes. I'm not a Liverpool fan, but I've worked with Liverpool players in the past. But I'm excited to see how it goes. But what a job and what a person to follow. So he's going to have to use all of his skill, managerial skill and tactical, or head coach skill and tactical ability to get the most from that.
Because Klopp was a manager who, it appeared, from the outset, everyone bought into that, and I'm assuming he's probably a similar sort of individual. He's
a good, remiss of me not to say, very, very good people person. Lots of conversations with players, like very Klopp. Similar. Yeah, so gets on with his players, motivational, well-spoken English, very good, and I'm not saying that from anything other than that is going to help. So it will be interesting.
And what about Eddie?
Yeah, what's he like?
Yeah, no, look, I really enjoyed working with Eddie. He's the person who stretched me most in my career, definitely. Really? Until I met you, gents, and you've checked and challenged me and made it tough for me. Absolutely. I think probably you guys then, Eddie, just underneath.
Yeah, well,
but no, he made it. He really demands a lot. He demands a lot from his players. He demands a lot from his coaching staff. He's the first coach I've ever come across who wanted his coaching staff to have a career development plan, like an improvement development plan. Right. So his coaches would go off around the world, and I know football coaches do this as well, but Eddie was really vociferous. He was really emphasised the importance of his coaches doing more qualifications, talking with people, the best around the world, and I would be, in a room when Eddie would do coaching education himself. He was really, really into that, and I've not experienced that in football. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but he was really, really shit hot on his coaching stuff, upskilled themselves. The other area where it is a bit different to football is rugby. It's much more player-driven or player-centered. So much, the players are much more. They're given the opportunity to contribute to, say, the game plan or the tactics. Eddie would have the last say, but it's a much more what we would call autonomy supportive environment. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Much
a bit more saying tactical and like what they should.
Yeah,
Right, okay,
yeah.
amazing.
Players would go away. They would have a project. I mean, this was at England. I can't speak for club rugby, but in England, the players would have an assignment in the afternoon to go and watch footage, to come up with solutions to what France might be posing to them, and Scotland. And
Bit more better upbringing rugby. Imagine the football thuggery. Nah, Gaffer, you should be playing 4-4-2. Put me in the jam roll. Imagine that. Us lot. Bunch of numpties
in the
thinking
jam
we can
roll.
This episode of FC Bullard is brought to you by Sky Bet.
Beautifully delivered, Jim. That is right. And just like here at FC Bullard, Sky Bet is for the fans. Now, as you all know, at FC Bullard, we are trying to create everybody's second favourite team. Would that be fair to say? They've got their own teams. They're going to take on FC Bullard and
That's a good call, actually.
and support us. We want to build something that people fall in love with.
And some first ones. We're going to be some first
Yeah,
ones.
because probably not. And we've got another question, JB, on this very topic, courtesy of Sky Bet Fan View.
Go on.
This is a good one, this. Other than your own club, which club do you like most in the Premier League?
In the Premier League?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a tough question.
Can I start?
It was... I thought you asked me.
Oh, go on then. I was just thought you were filling in. I just thought I was going to be a bit of thinking
I haven't got an
time.
answer yet, but go
All right.
on. Yeah.
So, mine is newly promoted Ipswich.
Oh, wow. I think mine will be, but I haven't made that decision yet. Why would it be?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you for why. And
It's a good choice, by the
And
way.
I've just remembered you played for Ipswich,
I
and it's got nothing to do with that.
Oh, right.
And I interviewed you when you were at Ipswich at your pub.
Right,
And that's when you were doing all the thing with the pints and all that. But that's not the reason.
Okay, what
the
can we get there?
reasons are
Go on.
in the 70s, when back end of the 70s, might have been early 80s actually, was it when I'm a Liverpool fan, but Ipswich were doing really well.
Yes, they were. Yeah.
Did Ipswich win the first division?
Knowledge.
Anyway,
Need you, Rob. Need you.
They might actually. I don't know if they won the first division, but anyway. So Ipswich, what I loved about Ipswich was the kit.
Yes.
They had this brilliant blue kit with the pinstripes
Yeah.
and the Pioneer sponsor. Remember
Yes,
it?
Yes, yeah.
And they had Paul Mariner,
Yeah.
who was an England striker at the time. He scored a really important goal for England against Hungary that qualified us for, I want to say, the World Cup. And I think it was a World Cup. I remember watching it on a tiny little black and white telly at home in whatever year that was. Eric Gates, who was a brilliant player, and they had the two Dutch players,
Go on.
Arnold Muren and Frans Thijssen, who both played in '78 World Cup for Holland, got to the final, lost to Argentina, but they were like two of the first imports into the old First Division, and they were brilliant. And I just loved that team. And as a kid, I used to draw kits. Did you ever used to do this?
Yeah.
So you'd draw like the basic outline of the kit. You draw football. You draw like a goal, wouldn't you? Someone scoring a goal and a goalie and all that. And I always drew the Ipswich kit because it was such a cool kit. I loved it.
Do you know what? When I was at Ipswich, they had the pinstripe. They still had. I think they went back in time, and we had the blue with the pinstripe. It's lovely.
And John Walk, who went on from Ipswich, went on to Liverpool.
John Walk used to come in the training ground all the time.
Did he?
Like, he'd be there 3 days a week because they used to love bringing their legends in. He was lovely. He'd always have a bit of brekkie with you. What you doing training? He was about it. I still had his tash.
Yeah.
He's a legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Ipswich legend. But I loved it down at Porton Road.
And obviously Sir Bobby Robson.
Obviously,
God bless him,
but
was the manager.
there's all pictures up around the ground of him, obviously. But they were a massive sleeping giant, we used to say when we was there. We was in the Championship. We never done so well with the squad we had, but the club itself was like...
Well, they won the UEFA Cup as well, didn't they?
Yeah, there's pictures of that. It's coming back to me. But I loved it down at Ipswich. And with this new manager, the style they had, I hope he keeps that style, because some of the stuff they played last year was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough for us in the Premier League, but yeah.
You're not going to agree with me, are you, and go Ipswich, because that'll be a bit of a cop-out.
I do like the Ipswich one, though.
Yeah.
I really do, because I played for him for a year and a half, so I've got a little bit of a love thing going on.
I mean, you can if you want.
No, do you know what? It was a bit of a chat. Leicester, you know when Leicester won the Leicester won the league. I think that become a lot of people's second, but that's faded now. It's gone. They've had their go. But you know, since a kid, I've always had a soft spot for Newcastle. Yeah, it's weird. I think they just brought like Mavericks in.
Yeah, was that like Keegan era for you?
Keegan era was epic. I just think he brought something to the table that was like
absolutely. Yeah,
Ginola had a big sway in it.
Yeah,
a Philippe Albert, a Spria. They just brought all these like gems in, and I loved the kit. Yeah. And when I went up there to play, I was like, "Oh, it is everything I thought it was." Do you know what I mean? That was epic. But I know it's a. So they've had their go as well.
All right, okay.
Man City.
I
just can't. City, I love City. I love everything about them. I love the gaffer. I love the way they play. There's times I put on Match of the Day, and I just think, just play this instead of all the other teams because this is just awesome. Yeah. I love that style, and I love some of the players, and I love the arrogance they show with the football. And I can't look past it. John City are my. Do you know what? I'm a West Ham fan. It's almost like I'm a City fan. It's becoming embarrassing.
I think it's all right to have a sort of a second team.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do. I've never seen. Look,
I mean, I suppose.
Why not?
I grew up supporting Scarborough, and Liverpool. It was sort of at the same time, really. I used to go and watch Scarborough.
Scarborough's your number one. That's your love. That's your.
Well, yeah. But then Liverpool kind of became all encompassing, you know.
Yes.
And now I'm still Liverpool, but I still.
That's fair enough.
So it's kind of evened itself out now, you know. So
yeah, my second team would be Man City.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit like
glory on it.
No, but it ain't for the glory.
No, it's for the way they play in it. Yeah.
It's for the trophies.
Good stuff. Thanks, Jim. That was this week's good. Sky Bet Fan View. Don't forget, Sky Bet is for the fans. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org, and please gamble responsibly. Could I just go back to the final player? It was the Benzema. What was he?
Positive upbeat Benzema. Positive upbeat Benzema.
So what would you have been then?
Alert, alive, lively, relentless, dominant, calm, relaxed, focused. It's free and something. You like the word free. So
I'd have been like a free
Joker.
No, you can't have that. It's more
you
free. No, I'd be like a free controlled Zidane.
Zidane, yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Who was the player?
I know the player is Zidane.
Yeah.
I actually so embarrassed. I used to wear my boots like Zidane. I used to like. Yeah, it was
your
like,
boots.
Yeah. He used to like because it was all like the big flat tongue era. Do you get what I mean? But Zidane wore the little. He folded them over tiny. If you go back, he had the little prawny tongues, and I had the little tongues. And then Riquelme come along, and I used to imagine myself as Riquelme. But I was in the Premier League at this point. I'm going around thinking I'm Zidane. I'm thinking I'm having a breakdown in my own nut. But like, what? I didn't. You got to bear this in mind. It was 20 odd years ago, and there was not a lot of these blokes about like that could come in and help us players, and we didn't ask for it. And we was like this old school mentality. Like someone like Paul Jewell would probably say, and this ain't me disrespecting Paul Jewell, go, no, we don't need none of that outside noise, just I can do it all, let me be the manager, just listen to me sort of thing, because we never had psychologists, it's only towards the end of my career. But going back on then, I used to think all that, and it's lovely hearing it from a professional.
What it shows is that, you know,
I ain't mad.
Well, footballers still have that joy for the game and still have like heroes.
Exactly.
Who they want to be when they make it.
I can say it now. Even when I did achieve, you still have your heroes and you still have someone to look at. And I suppose golf's that great thing as well, because you don't get a lot of football players. I'm going off on one here, but you don't get a lot of football players talk about heroes in interviews. You just don't. In golf, they talk about Tiger all the time. Yeah. They talk about it's two totally different things. They do, and they talk about Jack Nicklaus. But you don't often hear players talk about that. So footballs are quite manly, shield up, And I never understood that. I always... So, yeah, going off on one, I used to think... And then everyone did say I was mad. So there was no other angle. Oh, I've lost the plot here. Then I just go along with it. So I used to think I was Zidane in the way I think. But it's lovely hearing from you that you even now, that players do have these, like, cloaks, let's say. That was my term. But I didn't hear a lot of it back then. I didn't hear players didn't come to me. Even my best friends wouldn't come to me and do this. Is this a new thing? Is this like, has this always been a thing? I don't know. Can you... have you brought that to the table? Did the players come out with that?
I can only speak for myself as a sports psychologist. I mean, I devised this technique of game face out of... I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. There's brilliant research and academic sports psychologists who kind of investigate this stuff at universities. But I just want... I mean, I'll tell you that the academic term for this is basically individual zone of optimal functioning.
Is it?
So if I stand in front
I thought it was. I was going to mention that. So if I stand in front of you, Jimmy, and I go, well, I think you should be in your individual zone of optimal functioning. But if I say, hey, game face, and I love what you said, there's so much amazing science that underpins what you did 20 years ago. And it's, I'm not saying it's the only reason you became the player that you did, but it does add up. You know, I know you came up with today, but free, controlled Zidane. And all those mini movements and gestures helped you to manage yourself around game day. And you know better than anybody else in this room, the mental, physical demands on you on game day are such that you have to take charge and take control. So even something to do with your boots that gives you that sense of control, that when you think of Zidane, you think of his behaviours, his gestures, his posture, how he goes about it. It just opens up a different set of thoughts, emotions and feelings that helps you go out there feeling a sense of control.
That's exactly what he done. You couldn't have said it anything. Like, it's amazing listening to that. Also, what I want to know as well, you know, when you go and meet these players, how did you have the meetings? Was it in a room? Was it walking around a pitch? Was it in... How did that happen? Or would that be player dictated? Yeah,
look, first and foremost, I have to be sensitive to the person in front of me. And if you might start in a room and you just get to feel this person doesn't want to be in it, you go and have a walk around the pitch. You know, you go if the weather's okay, you go and have a walk around the pitch. Similarly, it could be in a private meeting room. Similarly, I would do meetings with a player and a coach, because we want everybody to be all in on this.
It makes sense. Did you have any players that rebounded totally against you? Go, no, not for me. I don't like that. Yeah, for whatever reason.
I think that I don't think that. Almost coming back to your first question, I think again, what experience? Just as experience helped you as a player to work out what works for you, you always go into different environments. When I come into FC Bullard, I'm just gonna firstly get a feel, and what you don't want to do is sidle up to a player and just go, well, you need to come and see me. When I worked at AFC Bournemouth, I worked in the medical department predominantly, and you have the best conversations in the medical department because everybody's just a little bit freer in that situation, and you have a chat by the table. He's getting treatment and you're having a conversation. So there's all kinds of environments, but you've just got to detect what works. Now, if you do get pushback, what I always say is I get out of that two ways. You know, number one thing is I work with and through coaches as well.
Yes.
So I want to work with and through coaches. So if a player says, sports psychologist, I don't want to work with him, what do you know? He's never played football. No worries, I'm going to work with your coaches. I'm going to keenly observe this player and have a conversation with the coaches, and we can work out what line of communication could work for this player. Or even better, I have a thing where I say players aren't psychologists per se, but the most powerful psychologists are players, because when you as a player can influence your mate, that's the most powerful. Makes because sense, you've got the boots on the turf. Now that comes back to, if at FC Bullard we start creating, and the psychological term here is shared mental model, a shared language and set of behaviours. If we start becoming passionate at FC Bullard about HPM, high performance mindset, about being in our game face, about squashing ants, for example. If we become passionate about that and we reinforce that together, that means that players become their own best psychologists, and it drives teamwork. It drives leadership.
Do you have Could you give us an example of where you've identified something with, say, a particular player? You don't have to name names here because it might be tricky, but where you've identified something that is impacting his performance and you have rectified it and seen
a real
difference, a real benefit. I'm really oversimplifying everything there, but have you got an example of something like that? Has there been a scenario like that?
Absolutely, and if I may, it kind of cues a little present I've brought in.
Oh, well,
we love presents.
We love it.
Yeah, I mean, this is two of my books. It's a compendium. It's Soccer Tough and Soccer Tough 2.
Is that what they call it, a compendium, because it's overlapped and joined together?
It's just back to back.
It's just two for the price of one.
Yeah,
okay. Two books for the price of one.
It's two for the price of one. I think compendium's the right word. I might even be wrong with that word. I may have just made that up.
No, I like
but
it.
Soccer Tough and Soccer Tough 2, and it's a good time to bring that in because, and I can mention this player's name because very kindly, and I wrote Soccer Tough, the first book. He allowed me to talk a little bit about the work we'd done together, back in August 2007. Yep. When I was working in non-league and I was working a bit in the lower leagues because that's how I got my start to really learn the language of the game and the language of the specific challenges that players face. I got introduced to a player called Carlton Cole.
We know Carlton, don't we?
So, got introduced to CC, and very much the remit was, what a lot of people don't necessarily know about CC was that at Chelsea Academy, he was popping in 40, 50 goals a season. Yeah. Claudio Ranieri, the manager before Jose Mourinho, said, Carlton is my lion. He's going to be one of the best players, best strikers in the world. And for various reasons, it didn't quite happen for Carlton, not least because of a drop of confidence. So I started to work with Carlton at the age, he was 24. I would say he was languishing in the West Ham reserve team. Still good. He was still there in the Premier League, but not quite making the breakthrough. We started working together, and we started working on, so we created a game face. His game face was Aggressive Monster. Wow. Aggressive Monster. And again, please, he does allow me to talk a little bit about this, so take it like that. Most of my work is confidential, but he said, I'm 6'2", but I feel 5'2" when I walk out onto the pitch. Yeah. So it's like, we need something emotive here. So we came up with this game face of Aggressive Monster. I talked to him about using that to squash his ants. Anyway, along that journey, everybody needs a bit of luck. He was playing under Curbs, then Zola. Unfortunately for Dean Ashton, he had a severe injury at the time, so he was in and out of the team and eventually had to retire. Craig Bellamy was in the team at the time and he had injury. Carlton got his chance, but took his chance. At one stage, he scored 6 goals in 6 games. He got a shout out by Fabio Capello. And so I talk about this in this book, and the chapter is how Carlton squashed his ants. How Carlton squashed his ants. And we really, so he went from West Ham reserve team, August 2007, to England international, I think it was February the 9th, 2009, came on against the Spanish team and played well, nearly scored. And there was lots of things that he improved, and I'm the 1% guy. I'm not putting that down to our work,
I know
but
what
it's
you're saying.
a
I
part
think you're more
of the
than a
process.
1% guy, but I get what you're saying. Was there anything you can really hang on where you see in your chats with Carlton, when you went, that's really made a difference?
The Aggressive Monster, Jimmy. Yeah, because he would be saying that to himself and he would embody that going on the pitch. And it didn't, if you think at the time playing Chelsea, he would be up against...
So you just say to him, simple, you have to be aggressive here. Nothing else matters. When you're in that zone, you have to literally take people's heads off. If we're going there, you have to be as aggressive like that. You have to be a monster. It's literally that. I don't want to see you cower down to anything. It was like that mindset.
100%. Self-talk is massive, okay? Yeah. And body language is massive.
If you know that self-talk stuff, have you seen Ronaldo when he's over the free kick, by the way? On the clip?
Yeah.
And he's saying, you've been here before, in his Portuguese accent. Oh, when he's Portuguese, he's going, I've been here before, I'm going to do this.
He's going, one of these fuckers has got to go in sometime.
It's been some time.
But talking about that sort of belief, it's just amazing. And I suppose Carlton dug him out of a big hole, right?
It's like there's two dials here. If we dial up the ants, the automatic negative thoughts, where someone like Carlton and other players can tend to be, and people don't realise this, is I'm no good, I'm not going to play well, if I play disastrously, Gaffer's going to bring me off, etc. etc.
All these negative shit thoughts.
Well, I've got another case study again in Soccer Tough 2. So I still work with Yannick Bolasie.
Yes.
Okay, and in Soccer Tough 2 I described a game where he played against, very infamous game for Crystal Palace against Liverpool, and it was that famous 3-3 game where they went to Selhurst Park. Brendan Rodgers was the manager.
Right.
And if they got a result, they were on course to winning the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I think it was the following game, that infamous Steven Gerrard slip. Liverpool were 3-0 up. Now, Yannick has a game face of brave, lively, relentless Ronaldo. Brave, lively, relentless Ronaldo. Yeah.
You're naming all these players with
brave, lively, relentless Ronaldo. So what we do, so whether it's Carlton with aggressive monster or Yannick with brave, lively, relentless Ronaldo, is you've got to put it first. You've got to put it first. That is your number one objective. I've got to go out there and be it and do it and act it every second. There's a camera on me. I'm going to show that camera aggressive monster, brave, lively, relentless Ronaldo, no matter what happens on the pitch. Now, the point of this story is that we had spoken before the game. And as a winger, Crystal Palace, first season back in the Premier League back then, 2016, 15, whenever it was, we had the conversation, the likelihood is you're not going to see much of the ball. And at that time, when he hadn't seen much of the ball, the manager at the time, Tony Pulis, had a habit of bringing him off.
Yeah.
So...
you're fighting that battle, aren't you?
Now let's put that in terms of you're starting to turn up the volume of ants.
Yes.
Automatic. Now, when you have a bunch of ants in your head, you're not ready to receive the ball. Yeah. You're switching off. You're disconnecting from the game. You're not ready. So we talked about the importance of you're not going to see much of the ball. Liverpool are going to have 70% possession, but stay switched on by staying brave, lively, relentless. You stay lively. You stay lively. You stay lively, no matter what. It worked a treat because about 75th minute, ball broke out to Yannick, and he was ready for it because he had stayed lively. Carried it up the end, delivered it in, Dwight Gale, bang, 3-1. Went 3-2, and then Yannick got the ball again, bang, Dwight Gale again, I think it was 3-3. And so what you're trying to do is help players stay switched on, stay alert, stay ready, stay energised no matter what. And that, as the game unfolds, again, coming back to what people watching in, they're looking at the external. They're looking at the passing, the shooting, the heading, the tackling, and they're not appreciating the thoughts, emotions and feelings that are rumbling underneath that distract. That drop intensity, that make you become a bit passive, a bit hesitant, a bit inhibited, which makes a difference to your positioning, your runs, your movements, your ability to anticipate, take the 360, get the picture, make quick decisions, all those game intelligence stuff. That's what we got to do at FC Bullard.
Massive. The other thing I want to touch on as well, there's a big thing talked about this at the minute. Pep Guardiola's mentioned it 2 or 3 times in interviews, and I think he sat in, I don't know where it was, but I've seen him a few times, and he's mentioned the strong mind. So I'd like to see your thoughts on it and how you would. I'm just trying to take myself back as a football player. Or imagine a striker comes into FC Bullard when we finally get one. His best players, and he thinks the best players in the world, so when they miss a goal, how do they switch on? They don't worry about that miss. It's how quick you get over that negativity. Like, I think the weaker players and not so good players, they could have all the ability in the world, but they seem to hold on to that miss. I'd done it as a player, and I used to hold on to it when I was in the lower leagues and trying to find my way in the game. It used to hang on me, and I'd hit a 50-yard pass and it'd get cut out. Then I'll get it again, and that miss is still there. He says the best players in the world, like Haaland and Foden, were the 2 players he talked about. Haaland about the penalties, and Foden about he missed 3 opportunities, but there wasn't one thought in that young man's head when he come the 4th time. How would you, as a sports scientist, how can you work on that? Because I think this goes on everyone in, not even sport. How can you, is there a way, is there a training way that you can focus your mind, get rid of all the negativity shit, and just focus on your next go-to, whatever that is in life? How do you do that? It may be a big question, and I know I'm putting you right on the spot, But
That's what you do, Jim.
yeah, is there a way how you can do that, or is it over a bit of time? I don't know.
You're stretching me. You're challenging me. Look, I'm gonna answer this in two ways, if I may.
Sorry.
No. It's a great question. The first way, I'm going to be a bit of a broken record. I'm going to come back to your game face of free controlled Zidane.
Yep.
We go back to you in the lower leagues, and again, if I may say, going into a game, we're going to make that a big deal. Your job on the pitch is to be free controlled Zidane.
Can I just break? Sorry, the reason why I asked that question, I think, is everything. I think that's as big as being an unbelievable player. I think you could break, if we can break this down, I think that is everything.
It is. It is, because what you're saying, again, use my language here. What happens is somebody does something on the pitch that they deem to be not very good, and we as human beings tend to judge ourselves in our environment, so we start to have ants, automatic negative thoughts, and so we get distracted from the game. What we know basically from research is if we're not 2 or 3 seconds catching our ant, squashing our ant, we want our players at FC Bullard to squash their ants within 2 or 3 seconds. Yep. They tend to kick in and seep in and stay there. Right. Because it's kind of in psychology, we call it a negative thought chain.
Yes.
One negative thought leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. So we need to, and it starts making sure that you've got a game face and understanding what ants are. It's then about making it a big deal for you. Yep. But we're going to train that during the week. We're going to make some activities for you as a player quite tough. We're going to do something in a small-sided game, a keep ball or something like that might invite in some ants.
Yes.
Maybe it's some refereeing decisions.
Because you're never going to be able to create that scenario at the weekend, are you? That's the problem.
No, you are right to say that, but the research also suggests that if we just get you a little bit better through the week, Monday through Friday, that gives us a good base that you can then use on game day.
And that's why you was touching on the Paul Jewell thing, creating the same intense environment on a Friday.
Enormously so. Yeah. And all the while, I'm going to have a conversation. When you're on your water break, we might use that opportunity for me to sidle up to you. We're going to have a little chat. We're going to just talk about, do you have any ants there? Okay, give me a mark out of 10 for free control.
Some players don't like to talk about ants. Do they?
Absolutely.
I'm trying to take myself back when I was 23.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really know what ants are, and I wouldn't like to tell my manager or my players I was shitting it. Because my character was that joker, there's no way I'm telling him. Yeah. So that's the whole thing, and it's probably too big of a question to answer in one question. It's a broad answer, this, isn't it?
Well, no, these are really, really good questions, and again, I come back to, I'm going to know if I've introduced ants to you before. Yes. I'm going to know if you're the kind of player. As I said, I'm sidling up to you. I'm not suddenly broadcasting across the team. Well, Jimmy, tell us about your ants there, because I'm respecting who you are. Yeah. But I'm sidling up to you, and if I know this is a conversation we've started to put this mental framework in place, this plan for you, as long as I'm comfortable, you're comfortable, I might say, hey, because what I want to do is I want to make sure you're not just working technically, tactically, physically in activities. I want you working mentally. Yes. Again, this is all pre-planned. So that Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, you in every activity are working mentally on this. You're practicing squashing your ants, you're practicing on your game face, and then on game day, we're going to make this a big deal. We might even bring a coach in, and again, respecting you might not want that would be fine. But if you do, a coach is going to remind you on game day, hey, come on, Joe, I want to see free controlled Zidane no matter what, okay? And then we're going to get you doing that, and you're going to get better every week at doing that. In fact, we're going to create what we call a feedback loop. So after the game, rather than us being, okay, you're always going to judge the result, of course you are. You're going to judge your performance, of course you are, but we're going to judge your mindset. Yeah. I don't want you to overthink. I don't want you to think just give me a mark out of 10 for mindset. Yep. I was good today, Dan. I was 8, 9 out of 10 for mindset. I stayed in my Zidane mindset. I was controlled. I was free out there. And then we're going to log that game. We might watch that during the week to make sure that, you're going to reinforce that. We're creating that kind of feedback loop week in, week out around mindset. The next answer I want to give you, if I'm going to go away from my normal techniques, is ultimately we just want players to be action-oriented. We want to get rid of thoughts, emotions, feelings, and we just action, next action, next action, next action, next action. Yes. We want you to become obsessed by next action.
That's a brand new action, that next action. No matter what's happening, that's a brand new one. all that shit, that doesn't matter. Do you get what I mean?
Absolutely.
Even good, that doesn't matter. Try and hold on to good. I've always liked good because it can sometimes take you onto that. But all the negative shit, that's what I'm trying to get. Can you answer me this question? And every sports person will go through this. I don't care what sports you're at. Football is what I know, right? Why some days am I I remember Ipswich was a scenario. I'm going to get up to try and I know this is a podcast, so they ain't going to see this. But the ball would come over. Some days I'm thinking so much about how I'm going to control it, and I'll almost control it like this, just pure panic and fear. And then some days I don't know why. I haven't changed my food. I haven't changed my ways. I'm not even thinking about it, and I'll bring it down, and then I'll play this pass. I'm like, why is that so fucking easy? And then why is it so difficult? Why? Why is this? Because we used to call it, he's woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Can't be that. There's got to be more to that. So what I'm trying to, how do I hold on to this goodness and this less thought and this way of playing? And footballers will be able to relate to me. Why is one day it's so easy and the next day it's so bloody hard? Please, why?
Okay, good question. Because as human beings, first and foremost, you are a human being with 305 bones in your body. That's hard to coordinate, okay? Yeah. And our bones work in different ways. Like you watch a golfer, for example, and you think, wow, that swing really repeats itself. But actually, what we know is the swing is kind of repeating itself, but there's different movements. We are designed as human beings to be a little bit inconsistent with our nervous system because it's how we would survive as a species when we had a lot of predators around us 200,000 years ago. Yes. You didn't think we'd get into evolutionary psychology, did you? So we are designed, our nervous systems in many respects are designed to be inconsistent from a bone perspective, our movement perspective, but also from a hormonal perspective.
So too many body variables.
Body variabilities, but also the hormones. You know, we're releasing dopamine, adrenaline, noradrenaline, testosterone, cortisol. So what you're feeling is influencing what you're thinking. What you're thinking influences your feeling, which influences your emotions, thoughts, emotions, feelings. And so one day you wake up, and because for some reason, whether it's because of what you've eaten, because of some news you've had, all kinds of things that go on in the world around you, the next day you wake up, and some days you've had a great night's sleep, you feel great, so you're ready. Yeah. Other days you've just got slightly different sort of form of hormonal release. Your brain is talking to your body. That is something called interoception. Your body is talking to your brain all the time. You've got all this data coming from your outside world. When you think about all of that noise, no wonder you're inconsistent. So there's no absolute solution other than this. Number one, Jimmy, is we need to make sure your players have as consistent mental, psychological routines, a psychological framework for high performance that they are executing. That is my argument as to why every footballer needs some kind of mental game plan to do exactly what you said there, which is to manage the internal that's hitting them. So you absolutely need those tools and techniques. You need that routine to go through every single time. And then combined with that, it's giving yourself permission to understand that on some days, no matter your mental routine, no matter what's gone on midweek, some days a 6 or 7 out of 10, a 6 out of 10 is going to be a really good game. And that comes back to, I'm not trying to win. I want to win, but I'm not trying to perform 9 out of 10. I want to perform 9 out of 10. But what I want is my best possible performance. What I demand is I'm going to be 6 out of 10 rather than 5, 7 rather than 6. And you know yourself, that's what Gaffer wants. He wants to take you, he wants you in the trenches, giving it your absolute best. But my argument is you need a sophisticated mental game plan that enables you to deal with the ants, the thoughts, emotions and feelings that are hitting your conscious awareness as you're competing.
I'd love this chat. I can talk all day about it.
Gareth Bale said this book changed his life.
Wow.
I don't know if it changed his life, but I know I sold a few books off the back of it.
That's a That's good, honest.
Did you... I mean, Did you work with Gareth, or
No.
was he's just?
No, he just came out in the
Okay.
press a few years
Wow.
ago. It was an interview, and they said, "What's your favourite book?" was one of the questions, and he said, "Soccer Tough" or "What book changed your life?" It's
Wow.
Soccer Tough by Dan Abraham.
That's unbelievable.
I was like,
Wow,
just
I'll be
popped up
taking this
on-
home
And have you never?
I've never
Met
had the
him, never
opportunity
crossed
to
paths with
speak-
him?
No, not spoken to him
It's
about
amazing.
Well, it's funny you say that because I think he's a free agent at the minute, isn't he? So he could.
We try and get him in.
We're going to try and sign him.
Look, this has been fantastic, Dan. I want to thank you. And it's probably been one of our longest interviews ever on My Be Up because sorry if I went on a bit.
I'm just
but
getting started, to be honest.
I loved it. Oh, we're not finished yet.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
I think we are probably.
I love the angles
we've got-
it come
we-
from.
we-
I love the way he kept bringing FC Bullard. What
I
we're going
did,
to do at
I
FC
did,
Bullard.
yeah.
He's taking it serious.
Yeah.
He ain't numpted us off, so that's good.
Can we close? I've got a question for you guys.
Got, mate, absolutely.
Okay,
you
if-
can
if
fire
that's
away.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, what's my salary?
No.
Okay. What?
Good.
Okay. So, thank you for that succinct answer. Hours? Are you looking for part-time, full-time?
We'll be looking for.
I'd like you in 2 days, and we'll do a couple of days from home, and you can say you're working from home on a Friday, but we all know you're
We
tossing
would-
it off and having a 3-day
we
weekend.
would like you on the end of the phone when we need you. You answer straight away.
Right. Okay. So you want me to put you as the most important client I've got?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so my final question is: do I have the job?
Would you like the job?
I would love the job.
I've worked with this, coming from my experience. This would be the 7th sports psychologist I've worked with. I like him a lot.
I do.
Do you like him?
I do. Yeah.
Just let me have a chat. Turn that way a second.
What did it say?
You have the job.
Come on.
You very good.
Brilliant.
Detail.
Thank you.
Got a lovely way about you.
Thank you.
It's just a salary. Once we start bringing in the coin, we'll talk something.
You want
Look,
it pro
at the end
bono
of the
till
day,
then.
you work with 2 old boys. We'll look after you.
Yeah.
We'll look after
Some
you.
contacts.
We've got we're interviewing a priest after this, and we've got the same conversation with him. He's going to be on a pay as you pray basis. Hey, I just thought of that. Honestly, I've not thought it through properly, but it just came.
You
to
could tell
me.
you just thought of it. Shit. Pay as you pray.
Yeah, but no
it.
one's making any money out of this at the moment.
But we will
Dan,
do.
But we will do.
You watch,
and
Dan. I swear, you watch. Couple of years' time, once we get.
Well, hopefully I'm involved. I could watch.
You
from
are
inside,
involved.
You know.
I
so-
love you. I would love to take your number anyway, because it's a little bit of therapy for me. Because I went back into player mould. It was lovely for me having a chat with you.
The invoice is in the post then, so
All right,
I'll-
you're a legend.
I
And I'm
f-
definitely going to take this.
I feel becalmed after speaking to you.
Becalmed.
I do. I feel really in a nice little zone. Soccer Tough, books 1 and 2.
Yes.
A compendium, I think you'll find, available from all good bookshops
Nice.
all good online retailers.
and good online retailers. All right, mate.
Oh, we will tell you.
Dan, thank you so much.
Thanks, Dan.
for joining us. It's been a real, and I'm not joking. It's an absolute privilege to sit
it is.
and to be able to ask you all these questions and to tap into your incredible wealth of knowledge. And delighted you've agreed to take the role. And I think we could probably revisit this. I think at some
lovely,
point.
wouldn't it?
No, I think.
Absolutely.
No, I think
Get
we
a few
need to-
players on board.
Yeah.
Be good to get them in, sit
Yeah.
there in front of you, and then
Excellent. And whenever we've got a question, whenever we've got a psychology
yes,
related question, we can
on the
come,
other end of the
we
phone.
can come to you.
Absolutely.
Now, which is
and
brilliant.
I'll answer straight away. Seemingly, you know,
Excellent.
there will
Do you
be
enjoy it?
not even a ringtone.
Bang, answer, Dan. Right, I'm here. That's what I want. Do you enjoy it? It's nice, wasn't it?
It was brilliant. Thank gents, an honour, a delight, a pleasure. Thank you.
Legend.
Cheers, Dan.